the station designed to encourage, equip, and empower you for growth and success. An affiliate of Direct Impact Broadcasting and Creative Broadcasting, presenting the Empower Hour with Jerisha, a show that shares the stories behind the journeys of leaders, influencers, and motivators. The Empower Hour with Jerisha begins now.
Empower Hour with Jerisha. I am your host, Jerisha Moore. A little bit about myself. I am a best-selling author with over 18 years of combined experience in education, finance, healthcare, business management, and development. Owner and founder of Empower on Purpose, LLC, where we provide personal professional coaching and consulting services. Certified coach, speaker, and trainer with the John Maxwell team, and owner of Envision Broadcasting radio station. Before I introduce my guest this evening, I want to share with you some information about two upcoming workshops being sponsored by Empower on Purpose. One is a workshop called the 15 Invaluable Laws of Growth, based on the John Maxwell book. This 5-week workshop is free, and it will be held at Dayton Montgomery County Library this Sunday, June 2nd at 2 p.m. This is a great workshop to learn more about personal growth and some of the misconceptions. I am also happy to announce a networking virtual vision board workshop that is being offered every first Sunday of the month. It's a great way to get connected with other professionals and learn more about how you can achieve your goals and dreams. To register for both, please visit the Empower on Purpose Facebook or Eventbrite page. This week's empowerment quote is "The secret of success is determined by your daily agenda" by John Maxwell. The key to remember is that you will never change your life until you change something you do daily. Success is a process that requires preparation. What are you doing daily to set yourself up for either success or failure? So without further delay, today my special guest is Jason Hale. A little bit about Jason. Jason Hale, LPC, is the founder and CEO of Life Builders Personal Development, a nonprofit mentoring and peer recovery support organization created to empower and equip young people with the skills and opportunities necessary to succeed as their best selves and to lead the next generation. As a graduate of the University of Dayton's Master's Program in Clinical Counseling and a certified John Maxwell coach, trainer, and speaker, Jason is a licensed mental health and substance abuse therapist, life coach, and minister in the Dayton, Ohio area. He has worked actively in the community for nearly 20 years to advocate for and empower those who are underserved and underprivileged, serving and speaking in various settings ranging from prisons and inner city streets to schools and churches. Welcome, Jason. How are you this evening?
Thank you, Jerisha. I'm doing great. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here speaking with you.
Absolutely. So I'm so excited to have you on the show today as well. We connected and collaborated, and it's truly been an absolute amazing, time being able to be connected with you because we share some of the same vision and the mission for empowering others. So if you could share with the listeners a little bit more about your past work experience and what led you to this point in your career.
Sure. Yeah, I'd be happy to do that. So, of course, like many people, early days of a lot of manual labor in various settings and a lot of skilled labor. I had the privileges to start into college, and I have a unique story I won't go into of dropping out my senior year of around 21 years of age or so. And so through that, I went through some small business attempts, mostly in the same trades, landscape and lawn care and those type things, construction. And I eventually really worked my way through ministry and back into school while I finished up. Professionally, as I came through ministry, I had a lot of various roles in that. But I was able to come through my bachelor's, and I had a short stint at the CRISPR House in Greene County when it was ran by TCN. Mm-hmm. I'm not sure if they're still under the TCN or not. And then I worked through the Monday program. I was also blessed to start my internship there coming through grad school, and I was hired on pretty quickly. So kind of a rare for human services, was paid essentially to do my internship, and I was there for a couple of years and really kind of cut my teeth, I guess, clinically in that setting. If you're familiar with the Monday program here in Dayton, for those of you out there. And then I worked some time with the Darke County Recovery after that for a couple of years, and since then I've been in private practice while developing some of the other things that we have a common interest in.
Absolutely. So with your business, the Life Builders Personal Development, it's a nonprofit mentoring and peer recovery support organization created to empower and equip young people. Can you tell us more about that and the inspiration for you starting that organization?
Absolutely, yeah, I'm happy to, of course. It's kind of my lifelong vision, so it's sort of my baby. So probably after 20 years of it kind of, I guess, being in the womb, you might say, and kind of incubating and being vague, just knowing something was out there, to work with young people and young adults and men in recovery. Over the last, starting last year, it kind of began to really take shape, and it began to form around both mentoring for youth and also a newer term in the field that's popping up, peer recovery support. And so that was kind of exciting when that began to develop. And so we're working with both youth and young adults that are in recovery or at risk, that they come out of, that they don't possibly have that support that they need. The vision of that, I guess, nonprofit, I always want to almost say ministry when I say it, even though it's a company and organization. It's really my ministry back, I guess, after all these years of my own journey. And our mission is to equip a generation to lead the next. And so whatever means that's necessary, we're taking a very holistic approach to it. So whether it's counseling, one-on-one mentoring, offering the recovery support, job skills, networking, advocating. So a lot in the works there, and a lot of it is ground level. So we're excited about how that's developing.
Awesome, absolutely. So then you work with those, pretty much the young adults that you help help them make a difference in their lives with the programs that you have created and implemented. That's absolutely awesome, empowering those youth. Could you kind of go into a little bit more details as far as how do you, I know you say you work with those youth, but how do you, how do the youth find out about the programs that you offer?
So, partly that's been through the journey itself, whether in ministry and whether it's been through prison settings and working with youth programs and outreach. Myself and the other men, my board, and the men that are behind this vision, we just have a large network of resources. One of he's our associate director. He works in Greene County for the Miami Valley Juvenile Rehabilitation Center. It's kind of a mouthful. And so some are familiar with that. And it's a similar setting as the Monday, but for youth. So we really we've had a long running heart for, we began working with men in recovery, and then the vision really became prevention. So the sources are not hard to come by because we just have a 20-year collective journey of really just working grassroots down, and getting dirty with people for a lot of years, and just out of our own time, and even eventually developing professionally, and now circling back to offer that as a sharpened skill and to do something effective for the community. So the resource, like I said, the referrals are not hard to come by. What we try to do and what we're developing currently is really fine-tuning the two legs of it, which are connecting a juvenile, say a 13 and up year old. Mostly we work with the male right now. We definitely have a long-term vision of getting hold of the female population because they're just as in need. It's just that we are currently most equipped to work with the young men. Or so connecting them to one-on-one mentors. And so it's actually a relationship that's developed to carry over the course of however long they need. And so it's kind of a unique thing we're offering. That piece of it is we've been doing that sort of on a voluntary, non-official level for several years. And so we're trying to really program and develop that in a better way. And we're resourcing with some local organizations that do training around mentoring programs. So we're hoping that this year is the year that's really going to blossom, where we can connect young men, youth, one-on-one with a mentor relationship, or if they're young adults and they're in recovery, that would be the leg that's geared more towards peer recovery support. And so that would be essentially an easy way to word it might be, it's like a professional sponsor, even though the role is slightly, it's a little different. It's a professional role. And so those are the new, exciting, developing branches that we're really trying to push, as well as the counseling and just one-on-one work with the community.
Absolutely, and that's awesome. I think that it's such a huge need, especially for the young males and females as well. But just thinking of some of the males, that it's definitely a huge need for the community. So I definitely, I commend you for the work that you are doing and that you're going to continue doing in the community. So as a graduate from University of Dayton, with a master's in clinical counseling, can you share more about how receiving your graduate degree in clinical counseling has truly benefited your organization and your business career?
Oh, well, I guess the way I've said it, the way I've said it over the years is that the best thing I did for my life was give my heart to Christ, and the second best thing I did was get my master's degree. So I really can't even define how much it impacted me as far as personal development. And I think that's because that was what my personal path called for, So I think it was more about pursuing, even against the grain, being in ministry, being in some of the settings. There were people well-intended that might have encouraged me, hey, go to seminary or get a biblical counseling degree, or a lot of well-intended advising. So I really had to kind of push past to pursue what I felt was my calling and something that was in my heart for a lot of years. And so for me, that experience and at the University of Dayton was just really took me to a whole new level of understanding myself and how to better help others, which really, was the whole motivation in the first place. Being in ministry, I guess I felt like I was somewhat limited in knowing how to best help others. And so my passion began, obviously, seeing those, whether they were in recovery or whether they were having mental health concerns. I noticed, and this is not really a criticism against the church, I think that it's just not knowing how to necessarily help in the best way. So I noticed that a lot of times those are the individuals that were falling through the cracks. And so, and we'll probably get into that, I have my own journey as a young man. So a lot of my motivation and my passion for mentoring and young men and recovery, all of it is tied to my own path. And so I think that the way it impacted me was it really brought me into my own. It helped me understand kind of how I was wired and what I was meant to do. And, of course, the doors business-wise and professionally, the degrees and licensing opens doors that just, you can't just walk up to any building you like and say, hey, I'm here to counsel. And so it really opened a lot of doors, and it sharpened me to be able to relate to people of all backgrounds, differences, phases of life, different faith, to respect the autonomy and to just be able to have a better human connection with people and have a better hope of really helping them be empowered to get where they're trying to get, which is really my bigger, I feel, calling, and my passion is to believe in people and to give them a purpose. And so,
absolutely. I think that you said one point that really kind of stood out to me was the fact that it was really a part of your own personal journey. And I can tell you that, when I finished my graduate degree, it was so important, not just for, me finishing my degree, but for my kids to see that I had finished that degree. And of course, it was something that could take, my journey and my, my business to the next level as well. So that really stood out to me. So you are, a fellow J&Tier, and that is pretty much a certified coach, trainer, and speaker with the John Maxwell team. Share more as far as what that really entails for you and some of the opportunities that you've had from being part of the John Maxwell team and what you're doing as a coach and speaker and trainer with the John Maxwell team.
Yeah, happy to do that as well. Well, I mean, I have to say that one of the most profound, great things has been connected to the Jerusha, right? So that's where our journey began, and so they touched on that as kind of part of the funny, really a God type story, right? Mm-hmm. That we were one of the first people that I met and talked to at all when I went to my international Maxwell certification. So that's where our journey began, and so that's been a neat relationship, and I'll come back around to that. I want to back up, if I could, Jerusha, and say, on that level of how we inspire others, my master's program was, I was a late bloomer, so I was in my 30s going back to finish my bachelor's and then my master's, and it was pretty a scary experience, and to go against, to step out. And so I did have an aunt and uncle that I have to really give them some appreciation. They're it's my grandmother's brother, so it's my great aunt and uncle, and I used to do their landscape, and I always really admired them. And in those last few years before I took that leap, they would be saying, "Man, you got to get your master's. You got to get your master's." It made all the difference in our lives. It just really, and everything they said, the way it really impacted is I respected them, and it planted those seeds of encouragement, but everything they said proved to be true, what they found to be true for their lives. So it's not that a master's degree somehow makes you a better person, but as part of your journey in developing you, what they said to me proved to be very much true. So I want to give, credence to that part of my life and how they influenced me in that journey.
Absolutely.
So back to the question. And so I would say that it's funny with the John Maxwell, the same thing. I probably 7 years ago, I think what I did is I probably began to sign up for and watch the Minute with Maxwell emails. And through that, Eric Marcus, who's part of the John Maxwell team, began to email me, and I had conversations and emails and even phone conversations with him for like 7 years. And through that whole journey, it really drew me. It was something in my spirit that I was appealed to, but I just never took the leap. And then so I really think once I began to connect with the Maxwell team, the core principles and the heart of it, with John Maxwell being also a minister for 30 years priorly, developing the heart of a leadership around becoming a bigger person inside, and before you develop outside. And so a lot of things just really clicked with the next phase of beyond my master's, beyond professionalism, growing as a person, and my heart of wanting to be a better leader had just really rounded out a lot of it. So I'm very excited about that relationship. And from then, and I've not been on the team for a tremendous long time, so it's been on the horizon for a long time for me, like a lot of things in my life. But, instantly we connected right there in Florida, and so that was pretty cool. Even so, in the short time since then, you and I have collaborated, and we did a global youth initiative event, which was pretty neat. And so that was kind of actually a first large event attempt with the Maxwell team. That's opened doors with other Maxwell team members and other potential partnerships, and so that's pretty cool. Also, immediately, the global network, right? There's, I think instantly I became, my Facebook, world friends became like, several hundred more. And so that just that support in the global network, and I've been a part of an accountability partnership the last 8 weeks that's wrapping up, and that's folded into other opportunities, and something that came as a byproduct, and was that through that networking, I connected to 2 pastors, one in Pakistan, one in Uganda. And so I've been in the miraculous world of technology, just like you and I are able to communicate and do this show. It's amazing that I've woken up on 3 weekend mornings, and I've spoken to a body of people, a congregation in Pakistan, twice to children and once to leadership on the other side of the world, and then I went about my day. So it was that actually came through that networking. It's just a very humbling, just open door, and then of course, and we'll get down the road to maybe what's coming up next, but the Uganda opportunity is much the same thing, and that's kind of a combination of ministry and some leadership, Maxwell training, that all that really came out of just that decision to launch into that phase of my life with the Maxwell team. And I can only foresee that becoming, I'm very excited about that becoming more so opportunities and just growing with that over the years, and hopefully with you as well, Jerisha, and just the partnerships. And I would say as the last piece of that, the DISC, becoming a DISC consultant, I bring that up because we can do DISC assessments, which those that aren't familiar with that, it's kind of a assessment for your leadership communication style, and they've been around. The Maxwell team offers a pretty in-depth, pretty neat version of it where we can really coach and walk through the DISC as a tool. Well, the reason I really bring that up is because, honestly, as a counselor and minister and all those things, I'm thinking, okay, it'll be neat. It'll be something to open doors, because I can use it with organizations and I can use it with individuals, and I've done it with individual clients. But what was surprising to me, as far as the personal growth, was it really clicked many things in my own understanding of myself. I came out as a high I-D, which is kind of the inspiring type, and D is more the dominant, driven type. And so my I is higher, and it totally describes me. I'm a little squirrely, and I have to be reminded to be on time, and I have to forget where stuff is. And so it just really was. It was funny because it taught me to embrace more so who I am, and to give grace and understanding to those that are not like me, and understand better how to interact with other communication styles, not as a conflict or a frustration, but to see how to collaborate better. So it really, for me, was a personal growth tool as well as a professional. So that piece has also been a surprising reward, I guess, more so than I thought.
Absolutely. I was, just to kind of piggyback on what you said, that, ever since being a part of the John Maxwell team, it's just been absolutely amazing with, the people that I've been able to connect with and collaborate. And it's really nice to be a part of a team to where we all have the same mission and vision, and that's to add value to others. And it's just truly amazing. Yes.
Yeah, very
so
encouraging.
You are, absolutely. You are a licensed mental health and substance abuse therapist, in addition to being, a life coach and a minister in the Dayton area. What motivated you to help those affected with the substance abuse, and what do you do to assist them in the huge need that's in, the community, especially, knowing the need that we have in the Dayton area?
Right, yeah, we're definitely, as far as the recovery end of things, obviously a hot spot for that topic, being at the crossroads of America here, 70 and 75. So, I think I've touched base a little bit on each piece of it. So it ties to both the mentoring, it ties to my own journey and the counseling and ministry. So I guess the easiest way to answer that is just to give like a kind of a snapshot of my background, which is, I was born to a teenage mother in the 70s, which was, a little more taboo than these days. And my mom and dad were not together very long, so I didn't know my own dad real well. And so that piece kind of tied into, through all my schooling, the passion, my thesis and all those things was on the effects of fatherlessness in the home. And so that's obviously been the undergirding of my knowledge and experience of understanding the impact on young men. But through that, the reason I did not complete college, even though I got up to my senior year, was I was quite off track myself. So I adapted the party animal mentality and lived that well as a young guy. And so in my 20s, I was that was catching up to me. And so I had my own journey of pretty heavy alcohol abuse, some substance abuse in my own background. So I came to Christ at 25, actually in Montgomery County Jail. And so that's where my life intersected with the Lord. And so I think that journey's been many ups and downs. And 20 years this year, I just turned 45, so 20 years now. And so it kind of all ties together, that my passion for it, and it helps me stay on track to give back. And I would say that, boy, it's a daunting task, and it's so complex. And so my work with recovery actually is where this all started, and it's actually back-ended into mentoring, because more and more I've had to come to the realization and the dawning, and even working with Maxwell team again, the Global Youth Initiative, that prevention is the real thing. And so we have to be able to get a hold of the youth before they get there. And if they don't have someone guiding them and inspiring them and being willing to go to bat for them even when they are a mess, then how do we really expect them to have a chance, right, out of our communities? And so while giving back to those in recovery is a passion of mine, it's what keeps me, I guess, in a lot of ways, some people might say that it's 12-stepping, right? It's taking that message of hope and inspiration, and that's what keeps us going.
Absolutely.
So it's kind of my heart and my call, but it kind of all ties together. In the briefest package, I can give all that. So
yes, absolutely. Yes, thank you so much for sharing, and really being transparent about your own journey. So I know you mentioned the importance of mentoring, and we both know that it's extremely important for those of us who lead, motivate, and influence others to have a mentor. Can you share with the listeners how important it has been for you to have a mentor or coach in your own life?
Yeah, absolutely. I think what I partly explained there was the biggest example I have it is maybe the lack thereof and the impact that had of not really having that. So that was my first, I guess, phase life lesson. And now as I look back, that 20 years that I've been living since then, I slowly began to realize that for me it became a lot of my church involvement and my friends and family that I developed in the last 2 decades. I've looked back in recent years and I've realized how those men that have become my brothers and my friends, my mentors, without necessarily being officially asked, but they've been there, and that they've modeled consistency. They've modeled being fathers and husbands and businessmen. They've modeled every piece of life that I was not handed by my own model, right? So I learned from both ends of that. I know the impact on the psyche and all the different aspects, and the stats are out there, right? I mean, the numbers for substance abuse, incarceration, all that are very significant, right, with the lack of father in the home and the male role model. And stats also show that a lot of that can be greatly impacted by just one stable, strong adult role model in the life. And so I certainly have that as well, so I'm grateful. So I would say that my experience of first the impact of not having that, and then having a lot of solid men that I still call friends and mentors, whether they're pastors, they're friends, they're acquaintances. I have a solid inner circle of men that affect me in different ways, and that as I've learned to mature and grow out of young adulthood, man, I realize the value of calling one of those to either say, hey, let me run this by you, to realize where I might be weak, and they've already walked that path ahead of me. And so I am blessed to have that, and I'm even more so seeking as I grow and expand in life that I don't have the answers all the time. And so I probably, at 45 years old, I'm more likely now to want to reach out to a mentor than ever in my life. And so
absolutely. I completely agree with you. I think having mentors, and I think I can't say it enough that having a mentor is so important. A mentor, a coach, someone that you can, reach out to for support and advice. It's so important, for both sides, for the mentor and the mentee. So let's shift a little bit. Let's shift gears a little bit and go back to talking a little bit more about your business, the Life Builders. What is one thing that you can say has been really the most rewarding part about your business for you?
Well, since the last several years as a licensed counselor, the majority of my work in the last couple of years has been private practice while I build other things, and so that has incorporated life coaching as well as recovery work, as well as mental health and marriage, and just a wide range of things. It's been a good experience and a growth experience. It can have its challenges, but I think the most rewarding part is probably that I see all that I'm doing is slowly, as I give others purpose and I give them support and I give them modeling the things that they're needing, it's fulfilling my own purpose and it's fulfilling my own desires and my own passions. And so it's completing me as it completes them. And so, several years ago, I felt that God really told me to believe in people and to give them a purpose. And that was at the front side of not, doing graduate school yet, not having a license, being kind of, unsure of the future and scared, which I, still can be, right? So, man, to see those things take place as I just simply follow the path and give back to others. So I don't always get to see the rewards. I don't always get to see the fruition of the impact on their lives. But what keeps me most rewarded is just that I know that I'm a small piece of their journey, but by being that piece, I get to fulfill my own journey. And so it's kind of it's a dance, I guess, with people. And so I guess that's the best. It's a little bit of a vague thing to define in the work that I do. So
that's good, though. I really like how you said it completes you as it completes them. I think that's so good. Because I can really say that I feel that way as well with my own business. So that's really good. I really like that. So then what are some of the challenges that you face in your business, and how have you overcome some of those challenges?
Well, I guess the other side of the coin of that. So I thought about that a little bit, and so what I've learned to say, and I think a lot of people in our field would say, is you remind yourself you're a seed sower, and that's how I stay balanced. The challenging part of working with people, and especially in our culture and in our modern day, and with the opioid epidemic, or broken homes, or you name the problem, the difficulty is that it's a daunting task. And what I often would say, without over religiousizing the answer, I've had to learn coming out of ministry and then going into out there and kind of the battleground of secular mental health recovery, even working in basically prison settings, and it can be a little overwhelming. And what I've begun to realize is, it's really, when you're looking at helping people repair themselves and get unstuck and recover, you're doing like God's work, and so it's a work that, to restore a person is really beyond any one individual's power. So what I've learned to say, and I've heard others say, is that, I'm a seed sower. And so when I don't see the result, or unfortunately, the difficult part is I probably have known, I would say, close to a dozen individuals maybe that have died just in my time as a professional counselor because of working so closely with recovery and the opioid epidemic. So from the Monday to other settings and working in ministry settings still, several people, that were directly, I knew them directly. And so that obviously can be a very could be a discouraging thing if we allow it to be. But we remind ourselves, I remind myself that I'm not their God, and I'm not their Savior, and I'm not there to fix people. I'm there to sow seeds and be a support and try to give them the tools that they need. And so the difficult part is balance with keeping perspective that, we're just a piece of the puzzle. Obviously, the other pieces are, you go into human service work, there's the financial faith of a lot of what I'm building to grow, and is a lot of giving out, at this stage of the journey, and not necessarily the return at all times. So there's obviously those typical business challenges and stepping out in faith to invest in yourself and others,
Absolutely. I think that is so important, as you mentioned, that we have to be willing to step out in faith. And, both of the work that we do, it really truly impacts people so much. And sometimes we don't see, how it impacts them. But it's so important to do what you're, when your purpose and that you're passionate about something, it's so important to just continue doing that and living that every single day. So the empowerment quote for today was actually, "The secret of success is determined by your daily agenda," by our friend John Maxwell. Can you share with the listeners what this quote means to you, and maybe how you've applied this to your life every day?
Well, it's funny because as you were opening, I heard you saying the quote, and I was thinking on it, and I think that's probably, it's a little convicting and also relates as well, because I think so I've been a part of the accountability partnership Maxwell team the last few weeks, which is in the mentoring program, and man, it's been a great encouragement. It's been a good eye-opener how powerful it is to just simply connect to other people, not to tell you what to do or to check in, but just to say, hey, I've got this goal, and next week we're going to talk for 20 minutes and find out how everyone's doing. And so I've really been working on that area of my life and trying to fine-tune and discipline myself, because I realize one thing that I believe Paul Martinelli is the president, I think, correct, of the John Maxwell team. And something I've heard a lot in the circles is that to hold your image. And so I've been lately, I went away, my birthday was this weekend, and so I stepped away. I like to hike and camp and stuff, and I stepped away for a day and really tried to reflect, clear my head, and I realized it was a time for to do some mental shifting in my own life and to discipline some things. So it's kind of an area of my own self-growth right now, my own discipline to say I can manage where I am, but I really can't go to that image that I'm holding in my mind without beginning to look at my daily routine, trimming some fat, deciding, to take better care of myself, to discipline my time better, to say, do I want to watch a movie tonight, or do I want to spend time, dwelling on my schedule and thinking about things I'm working on and, meditating in peace, So it's making those decisions today so that I can get to that image that Paul Martinelli might say, to hold that image in my mind. So that's something even just this week I began to try to remind myself when I feel lazy or feel like giving up, where I've got just hold the image. It's not today, it's down the road. But if I don't do today, I'll never be to that place, and so.
Yes, absolutely. I think that, for myself, that I think about how, you mentioned about the accountability partnership and how it's so important to even just hold ourselves accountable, to that. What are we doing day to day? And that becomes so hard, as you mentioned, but it's so important, to have that success.
Well, and one thing I would add to that comes to mind is I read a book, and I've even referred it on to clients and stuff. I believe it was Reinventing Yourself by, I want to say Alvin Slaughter. Does that sound right? Well, anyway, he talks about, and other sources talk about, in everybody's life, in my life, most of us are busy. We have busy lives, but we can be about putting out fires and busyness, and we're sacrificing, the need in the moment for our priority. And so, like, I'm sure maybe some out there, myself, I stay busy all the time. I'm rarely just sitting around kind of staring at the wall, right? But I'm not actually accomplishing my priorities, and that's what I have to look at. That fine-tuning of, like, okay, I can be busy and actually be avoiding what I should be doing by being busy, and I'm not getting where I'm trying to go. So that comes back to mind as you talk through it.
That's right. So. Absolutely, because busy doesn't necessarily mean productive, as you mentioned.
Yeah, in my world, it definitely doesn't.
Absolutely. So what is one piece of advice that you would give our listeners?
Well, I would say that when I look at my whole journey, because, life can be daunting and life can be busy, and a lot of people maybe don't know where to begin, and maybe they have that fear. The thing that, I'm quoting Paul Martinelli a lot, but the thing that IMC stuck out to me, he said, was jump and grow wings on the way down. And so that related to my personality and my style that freaks everybody out, but I took that to heart, and the way I would say is to pursue your passion and your gifts, and it'll make room for you. There's a scripture that stood out to me several years ago, and it was about, do you see a person diligent in their work and skilled, in their trade? It will bring them before great men. They won't stand before, basically it will take them when they need to go. And the way I see that is, if we just pursue what we're passionate about and we're gifted at, that we can create a niche, So to just follow that niche. Where I am now compared to 20 years ago is light years beyond where probably most people ever thought I could be. Quite honestly, at 25, my own mother would say she was bracing herself for me being dead. And so, and I would say that I sure hope that in 20 years from now, I say the same thing, that 20 years that now I'm not near fully where I can be and who I can be yet. And so we got to just keep pursuing that passion and that gift a day at a time, and it will make room for us.
Absolutely. So please share with the listeners what you have coming up on the horizon. So what's next for you?
Well, I think as well as the mentoring and peer recovery that's really launching and ready to really take full form. There's some partnerships taking place that are trying to get into some locations, working with a youth center, a community center we're developing, but that's all kind of in the form. But the probably really exciting thing that is just blowing me away a little bit is going to be going to Uganda in October. And so I have extended a full invite to Jerisha for the public audience, just so you can keep her accountable. So we're believing for that. So yeah, that's she's like, well, let's talk about that. That's probably the most just mind-blowing, and I'd have to go on a long time about. I've had Africa in my heart for years. I've had another, word in my spirit from God was to be a voice to the world, and to have my voice heard, which there's no reason it should be. And here I am speaking to you on a live broadcast. I'm going to Uganda to do a conference. Uganda, just out of nowhere, and that's all began to happen. So that's an exciting on the horizon. That's actually going to be a ministry combined with leadership training for leadership, and we're going to do some youth training as well. So we're going to combine some Maxwell material with some ministry material, and so ask everyone to keep that in prayer. Also, the shameless plug, that's going to be quite an investment on my end to get there, and this is obviously a fairly impoverished area. They're going to be covering the costs on their end, but there's no really planned compensation to me. It's something that I'm just more than happy and humbled to have an opportunity to do, and then Jerisha will fill you in about our plans to get there. And so
absolutely. Absolutely.
So
and
I
am
that's
excited.
also actually good.
No, I was just going to say that I'm excited. I know when you shared with me about Uganda that Of course, I've never been. And I think that, as you mentioned, it's a ministry. And so I definitely would love to be able to go to minister, whether it's leadership, training there. I would love to be able to go to just share, those gifts and talents. So, yes,
Well,
I will definitely, be sharing more information
yes,
in the future.
I hope that happens. I hope that very much happens. And I have to say so the cool part about just the God thing here is that there's actually other John Maxwell team members. One of them is in Kenya, and Jerisha and I, that's the other third person, was the first people that I talked to in a group conversation, the three of us. So we have connected. She's going to be a part of that effort. And there's a man here who's from Uganda who lives now close to Washington, D.C., and he's been interpreting for me between this other pastor to help us understand. So it's just been an amazing adventure, and I'm hoping this team can come together and be funded to make this happen and really go make a powerful impact over there. They're very obviously hungry. They're just hungry for it's almost overwhelming. I feel like they should teach me something, right? So it's been amazing talking with them, and so I had to.
Yes. So thank you. I just want to take the time to, to say thank you for sharing your amazing story and journey. If you can share with the listeners how they can actually stay connected with you and support your efforts.
Yeah, of course. So you can find me on Facebook, Life Builders. You can look for Life Builders Personal Development, or our line there. Our handle is @WithYouInTheJourney. For the Life Builders Facebook page. Also on Instagram, and because I'm a high I, I can't remember I'm trying to find if I can maybe tell you real quick. I believe Jerisha, hopefully maybe she has these things on hand, but it's Life Builders 1. If you search Instagram, it's Life Builders 1. And so right now we're kind of in between shaping our social media and our branding and all those things, and beginning to develop a scalable mentoring program through Life Builders. So we don't have necessarily the website in place. We're kind of working on some of those things right now. So,
absolutely.
And of course, my direct line for Life Builders is 937-716-5883 is another way to just contact me directly.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So it has truly been an honor and a pleasure having you as a guest on the show today. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to give me the opportunity to interview you. I wish you much success and blessings as you continue on your journey.
Oh, same to you, Jerisha. The honor's been all mine.
Thank you. Thank you. So listeners, thank you so much for tuning in tonight's show with our special guest, Jason Hale. Jason shared his amazing journey and how it is so important for pursuing your passion and your gifts. And remember to jump and build your wings on the way down. If you are interested in being a guest on the show, starting your own radio show or low-cost advertising highlighting your book, business, or events, please email envisionedb@empoweronpurpose.com. Please tune in next week where you will hear an amazing story and journey from another leader, influencer, and motivator. Until next time, be blessed.
With Jerisha, where Jerisha speaks with leaders, influencers, and motivators who share their journeys in personal and professional growth, empowerment tips, lessons learned, and keys of success that will empower you to be your best self. Follow Jerisha on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter @JerishaMoore, and visit EmpowerOnPurpose.com. And remember to be intentional and be empowered, and have a great day on purpose.